I don't know how to get myself whole again. What did I just do? There we go. I'm gonna let people hop in here. I don't know what's going on up here. What is happening? So, wow, what do I got going on? So happy Friday night. I'm gonna wait for people to come on in, but this is totally what is going on? So I don't know how long my internet's gonna hold out. So see, we created a little office type thing down here in our basement that we have a room down here. So we made that into the little workspace, but the internet down here is really bad. So I'm trying to figure out how to work with all of that and kind of see what happens there. So lots to talk about though. I know haven't been around in a couple weeks, but it's Friday night and so I thought I'd hop on here. All the kids are busy doing their things, basketball, so just wanted to get on and touch base with you all. So it seems like there's a lot going on YouTube in the, drama community, and I guess that's what it's called, or drama / true crime. I wonder who came up with crama. It is kind of a funny word, but yeah. So it seems like it's been a busy week for everybody. It's crazy, you hop into different chats and you see like tables have turned and these people are with these people, and it's pretty crazy. I don't know, I can't keep up. Um but there's a lot going on too with true crime, so um let's just kind of talk through everything. Waiting for Punkette, man. I don't know if she's around. Like everybody's kind of probably out because it is Friday night, but uh I know the big case that everybody's talking about right now is the Idaho 4. So a couple things, you're allowed to have your own opinions. I don't care at all. And I welcome you to tell me why you have your opinions and what your basis is. So I don't want you to come here and agree with me because I'm saying it. It's true. Um have your own opinion, tell me your thoughts, tell me your reasons of your thoughts, and we're cool. Like I'm not going to holler at you for having a different thought. Whatever, we all think differently. We all have different reasons for thinking we do. So I think that in my opinion, excuse me, in my opinion, I think that Brian is very guilty. I think that he definitely had, I'm not going to say that he had no help because I don't know that part. I'm not going to say, that he was what his role as far as like, was he the only one that, did he hurt one of the girls? Did he hurt all of them? But I do believe that he was involved in this crime very much. I think if you look at the selfie he took after words, hours after the crime occurred, I think that is so creepy. But, people could look at my screenshots or look at me right now and say, wow, that girl's pretty creepy too. So, you can't really go go off that. But I think that the amount of time that it took law enforcement to find Brian, to track him down, to put the pieces together, I think are pretty substantial. And I think that they took a long time because I also think that they really put time into making sure they had the right guy. I do think that the prosecution is holding a lot of the evidence that they have close to themselves, which I think is wise. I think the defense is dropping stuff because, they're defense. And so the more they drop, the more that, people can second guess whether he's guilty or not. I mean, their job is to create a reasonable doubt, and they are doing that, but they are dropping pieces of it to the public, and the public is running with it, obviously, and making their thoughts and assumptions based on, what the defense is dropping, which is fine. I do not think the prosecution would be going as hard as they are for the death penalty and everything else if they didn't have some really concrete evidence that he was involved. We know he bought a knife. I know you can't tell what knife he bought. I know we don't know that part. Um, but I do think that the prosecution has a lot more than we know. Like, I mean, we really can't say that we know much at all because we really don't, right? We know, what's being said. But the big elephant in the room that seems to be a big topic is Dylan and Bethany's involvement. And here's what I got to say about that. And a lot of people aren't going to agree with what I have to say about that, and that's fine. I think that unless we're in that situation, we don't know what we would do. I think that for some reason, all of the families are very pro Dylan and Bethany and do not in any way, shape, or form believe that those girls are at fault. And those are the families, and they know a lot more than we do. And I will say that the one thing that Kaylee's dad made mention of was that we all need to remember that there was a lot of covers on top. So what that leads me to believe is, and he made the comment of, you have to pull the covers down before. So I think in making that comment, that leads me to believe that they were covered up. Look, I don't know why Dylan acted in the way she did. I don't know why Bethany acted in the way she did. There are obviously pieces that don't make sense and that are frustrating, but you also have to remember all of those kids, all of them, were out partying hardcore that night. You also have to remember that not only were they partying, we also don't know if they were all on some illegal substances. So in their brain, in their 21, 22-year-old brain, they might have actually been very scared to have anyone come in if they had illegal drugs, which is why they might have called friends before they called 911. Like, hey, help me get the drugs out of the house. Then this is all just speculation, right? So none of this is, don't take this to the bank. But I just think that we can't, we cannot pin it on these two kids that endured a significant amount of trauma themselves. Okay, we're never going to know what it's like. Well, I hope you don't know what it's like to find bodies in the shape that they found them in. Now, I will say, Hunter, I believe it was, or whoever you can hear on the 911 call, whoever found, I guess it would be Xana first. You can hear him basically say, like, turn around, go, like, I mean, he was definitely trying to protect them from seeing whatever image he had seen. I also know that Ethan's parents are taking a lot of heat for the fact that they sent the youngest kid, Hunter, or not the youngest, I guess they're the same age, Hunter and Maisie back to college. And that Hunter went back to the same fraternity. A lot of people thought that was in poor taste. But actually, I think that's pretty cool. So Ethan's parents have said from the beginning that the one thing that they weren't going to do was they weren't going to be angry because anger changes nothing for them. They said it wouldn't solve the situation. So they took a lot of time right after the crime was committed and spent it as a family. And they originally, the parents, obviously for good reasons, didn't want the two other siblings to go back to school. But then they really discussed it, and all of them decided that, they needed to keep on with their life and they weren't going to let this destroy them. And so they did go back, and both kids graduated from there. And I think, again, there's a lot of assumption flying around on the internet. And I don't think unless you've lived it, you can say what you would do. It would be horrifying, and I'm sure it was horrifying for them to stand and drop their two children off at the university right near where two of their kids, or one of their kids and his girlfriend, were brutally murdered. But I don't think that we can say that we would do any different unless we know. And I don't think Dylan and Bethany had anything to do with it. I don't know why they did what they did. I don't necessarily like their choices or agree with them, but I also think unless we're in their position, we don't know how we're gonna react at all. Um, I don't think that I don't know. And you know what? I might turn out to be entirely wrong, and that's okay. Because again, we need to remember we do not know, we know a very small portion of what's going to come out when this trial happens. And I do believe that Brian will be found guilty. I think pieces of the puzzle that we don't know now, that people are, that we don't know now, that people are, like, well, this makes him innocent, all this stuff. Like, I think there's going to be pieces that are going to finally come together for us when the trial comes around, and people are going to go, oh, like that makes sense. That makes sense. I just feel for the prosecution to go and the state to go as hard as they are, with as much confidence as they are, I do believe he will be found guilty. I really do. I think he did it. I think he did it. What, Punkette? You feel differently? Or did you just come in late? And I could entirely be wrong. They could find somebody else that did it and the person could confess. And I'm not saying that he was the only person. I don't know that part. That part, I can't put the pieces together. Oh, you came late. That's all right. I can't put the pieces together of whether or not he acted solo or not. Stupid YouTube. Well, it was impromptu. So I don't know. I feel in my gut. And look, good thing I'm not on the jury, because I feel in my gut definitely wouldn't be a proper reason to feel that he's guilty. I'm just going over Idaho 4 because it's the case that's blowing up right now. Um, for now, it'll fizzle out until the trial here. Um, Just I'm talking about, because there's a lot of people now that believe Brian's innocent, and I'm not saying that he's not. I don't think he is. I think that there's pieces of the puzzle that we don't know about yet that are going to come out when the trial comes out. I think in order for the prosecution to go as hard as they are, there's a reason, and they have a lot of stuff, and they're going to keep it tight to them, and they're going to let the world think what they want to think for as long as they want, until it comes time for the trial, and I think then it's going to come out. Um, the other thing is, I said, I don't really know the involvement. I don't think Bethany and Dylan are involved. I think Dylan made poor choices, and they both made very poor choices in how they handled it. But I also don't know how I would react in that situation, especially if we all came off a night and we're all drunk and, oh, I see this masked guy. But you got to understand, there was people in and out of that house all the time. So it probably wasn't. Exactly, Punkette. It probably wasn't that uncommon to see people they didn't really know, because they were all very close, but I think they all had friends coming in and out that maybe they didn't know. I mean, I just think it's a weird, and you're right, no one is going to be happy when they reach a verdict eventually. Like, there's going to be two sides. This is going to be a Chris Watts Shadows case forever. Like, people are never going to be happy. So there are always going to be those people that feel it was, conspiracy, that think it was a setup, that think it was wrong, the wrong verdict. If he is guilty or if he's innocent, there's going to be people thinking that he was guilty. Like, we're always going to have a Chris Watts type case in this case, because similar to that one, it's so full of emotion. It's so full of emotion because of the horrificness, just like Chris Watts' case. The the way, just everything, the horrificness of how it took place, where it took place, how many people were involved, the absolute senselessness of anyone seeing it coming. It's going to be just like Chris Watts. Speaking of Chris Watts, I am going to Denver in July, and I believe we're staying right outside Arvada or something, and I'm pretty sure that's where they lived. And I think if I'm that close, I'm gonna need to drive by the house. I'll go against all I ever believed in, at least drive by. But now that I'm thinking about it though, like it does make sense. It is very much a Chris Watts type case in the emotions involved, in the horrificness, how horrific the crime was, and that no one saw it coming. I mean, it certainly doesn't make sense. I mean, to have that type of crime at a college, like, it's crazy. So I think no matter what, you Punkette, you hit the nail on the head. It's gonna no one's ever gonna be happy with it, one way or the other. Speaking of horrific, crazy cases, so I just watched on Hulu a a two-part series. I'm hoping that more episodes come out, but I don't know if they will. It's called Good American Family. I had never heard about this before. So the mom, her name is like Christine Barnett or something, and the dad was Michael Barnett, and they like adopted. I think it was like three children they adopted, or one child. Yes, Punkette, and they um holy cow. Like she did really great things with these boys, and one of them was autistic on the spectrum, and he like excelled and was going to go to Princeton and all this stuff. And then they had adopted this girl Natalia, who they ended up it's nuts. They ended up like changing her age to 22 because they went through this corrupt adoption center that like she hated Christine and wanted to kill her allegedly. And like now, like I want to know what the rest of the story is. I guess both Michael and Christine were arrested for neglect because they moved with the boys to Canada and left Natalia at in Indiana and had her date or had her age changed to 22. Now allegedly when Natalia went to launched her own biography, they said she did a DNA testing that proved she was 7 at the time of her adoption, but that would have fit in line. But I don't really know. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of things that was a very freaky show, and I wanna know the end of it. Like, with how it ends is like, "Oh, Natalia has hair down there or something," and then it just cuts out. So I hope they do, like, an episode 3 or 4. I guess now Michael and Christine are separated and all charges were dropped against both of them for neglect, so it's just wild. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that, Punkette. I'm gonna have to watch that because I think it's just crazy. That goes along with, like, my Ruby Frankie type, like, just some of these crazy family stories, these all-American families that come out and are just absolutely wild. And then what was the other case I was Punkette, have you heard of the Jordan Henning case? Man, so people again, no one's gonna be happy with this. Okay, so he was convicted and he was charged guilty with manslaughter for killing and shooting his wife, uh, Ashley Henning. They were both in the military. Apparently they started fighting after his so let me go back. So he was found guilty of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Everyone is flipping out. Well, her family and a lot of people, rightfully so. I wanted him to get more time in prison. He claims that Ashley was very abusive to him and that the reason he killed her was because he snapped during a fight. However, he has friends coming forward that have said he said if he ever murdered somebody, he would claim PTSD. Um, like when the cops showed up, he was like, "Kill me, I killed my whole family and stuff." But here's the thing, and I'll play the video another time, but, like, they got the whole thing on video. For some reason, there are people coming forward and saying that he was kind of like a paranoid prepper, but there was surveillance cameras within the house, and so it was all caught on video. So you can see after their 37th after it was her 37th birthday party, they have 3 kids, a boy, an older boy, and then, like, a 13-year-old daughter. I think the littler boy, Carter, was younger. They said that they were fighting at her 37th birthday party, and so you see them start fighting in the kitchen, And then you can hear him yell like Carter for the boy, and like she's saying like Jordan, stop, please stop, and he gets the boy to come down. Must be the boy didn't clean something. This is the youngest boy that he was supposed to clean. This dad's, you can hear him yelling at the son. All of a sudden, like, this goes on and on. You can hear him just yelling, and then you hear some slamming, and you see the little boy, Carter, running out and going, "No, daddy, no." And then allegedly, Carter left the house and went to a neighbor's and asked for help. You then see Jordan or you see excuse me, you see Ashley come out, and because the kids are upstairs now, the 2 kids are upstairs on the hall stairway, and she comes out, and you can see her texting frantically, like, probably texting somebody, "Help me," or something, and you see her go up the stairs and go, "Boys, it's okay, get in your or kids, get in your room, kids, get in your room," and then instead of letting her go, Jordan, the husband, comes flying out and chases her up the stairs, and you can hear him yelling at her still, like, "Listen to me, listen," just going on and on and on. So then at some point they go back down into the kitchen, and you hear shots go off, and can hear her going, "No, Jordan, no." And then you could tell she's been hit because she kind of cries out. And then he comes out and cocks his handgun, comes over, gets more bullets. And I think you can hear her kind of wailing out at that point. Goes, gets more shells. Remember, the kids are upstairs. At least 2 of them are upstairs. The other one had gone to the neighbors. Goes back in, and you see him fire more shots, killing her. I think he actually ended up getting like 5 shots into her. And all of this, he claims he comes to and he doesn't remember any of it until he wakes up and goes, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. What did I do?" And this whole thing he's claiming, right, and crying and giving all the thing. Look it up. It's Jordan Henning case. He's crying in court and what did I do? All this stuff. Can't believe it. And he claims that she was so abusive to him over and over that he just snapped and that's why he killed her. Like, clearly by the video evidence, you can see he was most likely the abuser in the situation because she was so, like, I mean, it was very typical abuser, abusee type of behavior. Um, and he was adamant to keep going because, like I said, he chased her upstairs. She tried to get away and stop it, and he chased her. Um, he got the manslaughter charge and was only sentenced to 20 years. Now, her family is absolutely livid for good reason, thinking, how could the jury dropped the ball? Like, how could you only give him 20 years? Do believe he's like 43, right? So by the time he gets out of 63, if he did a full sentence, but let's be real, he's probably not going to do the full 20 years. Um, he destroyed their family. He took their kid's mother. Like, I do believe, in my personal opinion, in this situation, they got it wrong. I truly believe they got it wrong because his friends weren't even defending him. I mean, his friends were like, "Yeah, he definitely, like, did this. Yeah, he'll be out in 10 to 15 moving on to a new life." It's just crazy. So that was an interesting trial. There's just so many cases right now of really insane things happening that wow, it's nuts. It's like that case like 2 months ago that the grandma got off. She left their 18-month-old or something in the car during the heat and the kid died. But like just a year and a half before that, the first grandchild she was left in charge of died as well, drowned. And then they never investigated that because said they dropped the charges or there wasn't must be not enough evidence. So they called it accidental. And then fast forward like a year and a half, and she's with the 18-month-old or maybe a little bit like 2 years, I think it was, and the kid gets left in the car, and she was found not guilty of that as well, and it was labeled accidental. Now, allegedly, she was a principal at one point. Allegedly, she stopped having to be Right, I know. They dismissed her and kind of forced her into retirement because she had the onset of Alzheimer's. So, isn't this case crazy? So, like, there's no winners in this case because, like, she likely had Alzheimer's. She really should never have been left alone with that baby, and I think that, after the first child drowned, I'd be a little more leery leaving my second child in care of the grandmother. So it's just kinda crazy. The whole situation, the whole family gives me some really weird vibes, like, there's just something not right in that family that's going on at all. Because you also have to remember, mom and dad collected pretty big insurance checks on both kids. So, I don't know, something's really weird about that case. It's just crazy. But I can't be on late tonight because I gotta get up super huh? Super, yeah, exactly, early. But I wanted to come in here, share some of my thoughts on the Idaho 4, watch it, start at the beginning, hear some of my thoughts, and, I'll come back on this weekend. I have a pretty light weekend, so but I will see y'all and have an awesome night. Bye.